The Nintendo 3DS eShop has officially shut down, which means pretty soon a lot of people are going to lose access to a lot of different content. But there's still a way to preserve and keep your 3DS alive and thriving post 2023. So if you've been looking for a sign, this is it. It's time to mod your 3DS. And I'm going to show you everything that you need to know, from how to actually mod it, the best known apps, why you should probably mod your 3DS, and even some questions you might have, because I know there's a lot of different questions about this. So now that the store is officially shut down, let's talk about how this stuff is actually going to work. Yes, you can still update your current games, and you can still download the games that you've already purchased. But there's going to be a lot of games that are abandoned on the 3DS since there's no official ports, and that means it'll be stuck on the 3DS forever. There's going to be lots of really cool digital-only games that there's just going to be no legal way to obtain them anymore. And there's going to be games that, while you can get them physically, they're going to be like really expensive to get them. So they're basically impossible to get. Listen, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are watching this and going, okay, I can't download games, whatever, like, why does it matter to me? Well, this is kind of how it starts. Nintendo tends to have a habit of like shutting down their online stores, but first it's the stores, then it's the friends list, then it's any online connectivity, then you can't update your games, and suddenly your 3DS is just a brick and it can't do anything anymore. Which is why I want to make sure that you have all the information you might need so you can finally make the jump and mod your 3DS. I know there's a specific demographic of people that wait until a console's end of life in order to finally decide to start modding their stuff. So if you're one of those people, I'm telling you right now, this is the best thing you can do for your 3DS aside from just preservation. There's also a lot of other reasons why you might want to mod your 3DS aside from preservation that I want to show you, so keep watching for that. Okay, so did I convince you? Yes? All right, great. Okay, so where do we start? So first, you're probably wondering if I have to be on the right firmware or do I have to be on the right model 3DS or something, but you don't have to worry about any of that because here's the best part. Any 3DS on any firmware of any model of any year can be modded. Yes, there are no restrictions for this. Even the weird cheese wedge can be modded. I don't have a 3DS XL, but if I did, I would mod it. If your 3DS can turn on, it can be modded. If your 3DS has 2 screens, you can mod it. No, not you, sorry. Literally, all you need is an SD card and a computer. You can get away with any size, but I'd recommend a 256 gig one because it can hold a lot of games and the process of moving from one SD card to another really sucks. These don't have to be expensive since the 3DS loads things pretty slowly anyways. I'll link the one that I use in the description. So, how do you jailbreak? Well, the method changes all the time. When I first modded my 3DS, it was a completely different method. Then I modded my friend's 3DS and that was a different method. And doing this video again, sure enough, the method has changed again. Currently, the way that it works right now is that there's 2 important pieces of software you got to be familiar with: Boot9Strap and Luma 3DS. Boot9Strap is the bootloader that lets us run custom firmware, and Luma 3DS is the actual custom firmware that we use to do all the cool modded stuff. Right now, the way that we get Boot9Strap installed is by using a corrupted version of the DSi game Flipnote Studio that runs an exploit to let you install Boot9Strap. Once you're there, you install Luma 3DS, and you're done. You're officially modded. I always say this for every Nintendo console, but please, do not follow video tutorials when it comes to modding your 3DS. These things change all the time, and it's a very easy way to break your system if you end up doing something wrong. Instead, just go to the 3DS Hacks Guide link in the description. It's always constantly being updated and has the latest instructions, so you're never running out of date software. Okay, hi, this is Future Jeff here. Literally, as I was making this video, the method has seemed to have changed again. Now it uses some sort of exploit through the 3DS Sound app to run a corrupted sound file. And do you see what I mean? This is exactly why I say stay away from video tutorials. This is just more proof of how fast it can become really outdated. Just stick to the written guides, please. Okay, now that we're a bit more familiar with the process, let's go over some of the most essential apps you'll be using. Like, if you have a 3DS, you need these minimum. First, FBI. It lets you manage your files and move stuff around on your 3DS, but more importantly, it lets you install CIA files and 3DSX files. CIA programs are things that go on your home screen and can be anything from homebrew, apps, and yes, including games. And 3DSX files are smaller stuff that doesn't really need to be an entire home screen app, so it's just installed to the homebrew launcher instead. My favorite part about this app is that it also has a QR code scanner. So some homebrew apps have a QR code on their website. You can just hit scan code on your 3DS, point at the camera, and it'll start installing right away. Isn't that neat? There's FTPD, which is particularly useful for 3DSs. It lets you connect your 3DS from a computer or an iPad so you can drag and drop files wirelessly. If you have one of those 3DSs that need to remove the entire backplate of the battery just to get to your SD card, this is super handy. But for bigger files, I would still recommend just inserting your SD card because big transfers can still take a really long time. This is Anemone. It's a theme manager. We all know that the eShop offers themes, but what if you want something custom? Okay, cool. Well, this thing lets you customize your 3DS and make it a bit more unique. It'll let you swap out everything from pictures, animations, badges, sounds, and you know how your 3DS takes like 10 seconds to boot up when you press the power button? Yeah, you can modify that too. I personally have mine set up to this really cute Luma 3DS one that looks really cool, and it has all my boot up shortcuts listed in case I forget them. You can also preview themes right off the DS, but it's a little slow in my opinion, so what I like to do instead is just go on Theme Plaza on a web browser and look through them there. Once I find something I like, I open up a Nemone, use our QR code reader, and just install it that way. It's a super neat way to try out a bunch of awesome custom themes. Definitely give it a shot. Universal Updater is kind of misleading with its name, honestly. I mean, it can update apps, but I think of it more as an app store than anything else. You can find a whole bunch of homebrew apps that'll get the most out of your 3DS. There's emulators too, and there's some ports of some newer games which I'll cover later, so keep watching for that. It'll also update your homebrew stuff without having to plug in your SD card to download the newest app, which, okay, fine, I'll give it that. But yes, this app is an essential download, and you'll find yourself using it a lot. God Mode 9. This is just a really high-end file explorer. This one doesn't do anything fun. But it is still really important to have these because it lets you do a lot of advanced stuff like backup NAND partitions, build your own CIA files, dump your games, lock and unlock partitions, commit hex edit to files, and so much more. It's really powerful stuff, but they've put a lot of fail-safes to make sure that you stop right before you might delete something dangerous. If nothing else, keep this installed so you can back up anything important. And this green app. Not going to tell you the name of it, not even going to tell you what it does, but I think all things considered, I think it's an essential app now. The only thing I would say is, if you're doing this, don't use a 3DS app, just do everything on the website. It's much faster to transfer over files back and forth. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm not exactly going to be deleting comments mentioning it either. All right, now that we got all the essential stuff out of the way, let's get into the fun stuff. This is just all the stuff that's fun, and it just lets you do things that Nintendo in a million years wouldn't let you do. But first, you know what else is essential? A really good pair of everything shoes. I have just the thing for you. This video is sponsored by Vessi. They got incredible, great-looking shoes that are designed for all types of weather, whether that be in the hard rain, in the sand on a beach, or just everyday casual wear. Vessi's got you covered. They're made out of an incredible material called Dymatex that keeps heat in the winter and stays cool in the summer, and that also makes them 100% waterproof. I'm serious, I feel like I could jump in the ocean with these things on and my feet would still stay completely dry. These have to be one of the most functional pairs of shoes I've ever owned. They feel comfy, they keep you dry, and they've got all types of styles to try from. As soon as you put on a pair, you'll instantly get it. Check out all their cool styles and sizes that they have at vessi.com/damagejeff and use the channel discount damagejeff for 50% off your entire order. Once again, that's vessi.com/damagejeff, and thanks to Vessi for supporting the channel and helping me make videos like this. If you're one of those people that likes to have their 3DS just absolutely loaded with every virtual console, DSiWare, and 3DS game loaded on it, you'll quickly find that there's a 300 app limit to how many things you can load on your home menu. Well, good news, there's a homebrew app that gets around this. Kinda. It's called 3DS Bank, and what it does is that it lets you get around this 300 app limit by making folders. Each one of these folders opens up a new menu instance that holds another 300 apps, and this can be repeated as many times as you want. A quick warning though, since you are loading an extra 300 tiles, sometimes switching through the folders can take a really long time, almost the same amount of time as rebooting the system. But yes, this works, and it's a great way to get around that pesky 300 app limit. Though, after like 400 games, I would really suggest you consider at least thinking about how many of those games you're actually going to want to play. Have you ever been playing Fortnite or Red Dead 2 on your beast of a gaming PC with a nice 4K monitor and thought to yourself, man, this is nice, but what if it was on a 3-inch screen instead? Well, that's what Pinbox is for. It'll let you stream your entire PC to your 3DS with full controller support, so all the buttons work exactly as you expect them to, which means, yeah, you can play pretty much any game remotely with a C-stick and everything. It looks and runs awful, but the responsiveness is surprisingly good. Now you might be asking yourself, Jeff, this is cool and all, but what's the benefit of doing this? If I have to be close enough to connect to my PC, I'd be close enough just to play on my computer anyways. Wouldn't it make more sense just to play on my PC instead? What's the point of this? To which I'd say that's a great question. Moving on, Checkpoint is a pretty interesting app that lets you manage your save files for your games so you can back them up, transfer them over to other 3DSs, make save states, etc. This is really nice because if you already have a physical copy of a game and just want to get that save transferred to a digital copy, it's really easy to just transfer them over using this app. Oh, and it'll let you inject cheats into the saves too if you're into that. So let's talk about Boot NTR. It's a custom format that has a lot of optional features that let you do some really weird stuff. There's a lot of stuff that it can do, but let's just go over some of the main big ones. I got a lot of people asking me if there's any way in 2023 to finally capture gameplay off of your 3DS without having to mod in a really expensive capture card, and the answer is yes and no. So first off, just forget about trying this with any older 3DSs. The experience is so bad, it's not even worth trying. This is really only viable for the new 3DSs. That said, Boot NTR allows you to stream your gameplay over to a PC or a Mac, no problem. You connect your 3DS's IP using a client on your computer, and you're up and running. SnickerStream works for Windows people, and QNTR works for Mac people. Now, does it look great? No. Because it's being streamed over the air, the DS has to do its very best to just not die, so the footage comes out a little bit JPEG-y. But there's kind of ways to hide it. If you're streaming, you can make a little overlay for your footage that kind of makes it less obvious as being recorded with a shoe. See, it doesn't look that bad. Oh, and there's no audio, but that can be remedied with an aux cord hooked up to your computer. But yeah, for the most part, this is just about as good as it's gonna get without getting a dedicated capture mod. What do you think about the footage? Would you say that it's good enough? Boot NTR also lets you adjust your color temperature and brightness of your screen, even lower than what the 3DS allows you to set it to. And it also has support for input redirection, which means with the help of a Windows computer, you can use other controllers with your 3DS. I've seen people use this to play Smash Bros a bit more competitively if you're into that. There's a lot more I wanted to cover here, but there's just so much homebrew on this thing, we'd be here all day, so I'll just link all the other stuff that I couldn't cover in the description. There's a list of all the stuff that people have made. Now, let's go see what other things modding your 3DS can be useful for. Okay, so here's something I think you'll find really, really interesting. In case you've been out of the loop, for some reason, these things are starting to get really, really expensive. I think I've seen this for like 2 or 3 times the original cost of what they came out when they were like brand new. Wait, hold on, am I saying that right? Is that $189 for a cosmetically flawed 2DS? $400 for a red new 3DS? That can't be right. Nah, there's no way that's right. Now, the best way to get around this usually is to buy a Japanese import, which tends to be much cheaper and is usually taken care of like really, really nicely. But up until now, there's been 2 issues. 1, you can't access the eShop with it, which I mean, it's not really a problem anymore. And 2, they're hard-coded in Japanese, which means that there's no way to actually change it back to English once you get a Japanese import. They're just stuck on Japanese. But with a modded 3DS, you can very easily switch the system over to English or any other language that you want. And yes, it's still possible to completely update your games and everything, just like it was since it's modded. It's a really great way to get like a way cheaper 3DS, so that way you don't have to deal with all of this. Seriously, what is it? Does it do your dishes or something? Why is it so expensive? Luma 3DS also automatically supports a locale emulation, which means that you can take any cartridge from any other country and easily play it on your 3DS. You don't even have to do anything for this to work. If you're modded, you can go and play Japanese import cartridges right now. It's really, really cool. If you want to learn how to change the region on your 3DS, it's really, really simple. I'll leave a link in the description to a really good guide that'll walk you through everything. It's really, really easy. Okay, so one of the things that you'll pretty much be entirely locked out of after the eShop closure is the Virtual Console, which lets you play old school games like the NES, Super NES, GBA, and it even used to host DSiWare stuff. Man, it kind of hurts me that the DSiWare stuff is going to be gone for good from a legitimate perspective. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. And what sucks is that your 3DS already has a built-in DSi mode that can play stuff like DS and Game Boy games. It's just hidden or is only accessible when you play a Virtual Console game. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you know that our go-to for emulating retro games is RetroArch, which lets us use emulator cores to run older games and can pretty much be installed on everything. And yes, there is a RetroArch port for the 3DS, but it's really not that great. The cores seem to not really run really well, and things like GBA emulation can't even stay at full speed. What the? And that's where Twilight Menu comes in. Twilight Menu isn't an emulator itself, but it just runs the native DSi mode that's built into every 3DS. So it's about as accurate as you can get while still getting the best performance possible that your 3DS is capable of. So you have native support for DS, DSiWare, and Game Boy Advance games, but it still does have its own separate emulators for other consoles, so you can still have your collections for NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, all that good stuff. It also has support for cover art for your games so they can look all nice and pretty. There's cheat support, and there's even a widescreen mode for certain games, making them look much better on your DS if you're into that. Oh, thank God, I can die happy now that I know what the B-movie game looks like in widescreen. Oh, but Jeff, what if I still want the icons on the home menu so they look all pretty and stuff like my old retro console games? Okay, well, good news, there's a really good tool called NDS Forwarder that can help you do exactly just that. You just open up the tool, go to your ROMs folder, select the ROM that you want to convert, and you're done. Icons on your home screen. The shortcut will take a few seconds to actually load the DS Bootstrap, but after that, everything works perfectly, and best part is, you're still using the native DSi mode, not an emulator. So you can go play your old school DS games that put you on to gambling as a child. Or was that just me? And if you prefer using the Virtual Console for your ROMs, you can use an app called Super Ultimate Injector that lets you make CIA Virtual Console apps for any of your own ROMs. Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, you name it. You just drag and drop your ROM, and Super Ultimate Injector will automatically detect what console it's for, add the right name, release date, and cover art for all your games, so the hard work is already done for you. But you can totally change any of this if you want. Once you're happy with it, you just export the CIA, transfer it over to your 3DS, install it using FBI, and there you go. You just made your own Virtual Console app. Aren't you special? There's lots of options for emulation on your 3DS, as you can tell. Go give it a try. There are so many great homebrew ports of some incredible games. These weren't officially released for the 3DS, but I swear they feel right at home on this device. Some of them are free, while some of them require you to have files of a legitimate copy of the original game. But it's pretty simple to set up. It's usually nothing more than just dragging and dropping files over to your SD card. Keep in mind, a good amount of these won't run on the original 3DS since it's a little older now and it's not as powerful. I'm gonna run through these quick so you can get a good idea of what's possible on the 3DS. Okay, first, Sonic Mania. Listen, I don't know what they did to the pixel scaling to this game or what, but this port made by Wattlesworth looks gorgeous on a 3DS screen. It looks so good. It's literally the entire game. All levels, bosses, music, and game modes, all running on your 3DS. I cannot stress how incredible this looks and runs and plays, really. The only drawback I found is the loading times are a tiny bit slow, but that's a small price to pay to have Sonic Mania running on something that it was never designed to run on. Friday Night Funkin'. If I didn't know any better, I would have assumed this already was a 3DS game. This one's actually based on a PS1 port that was also made by Cucky Dev. It's got all 7 original weeks, and it plays pretty well with the 3DS controls. Definitely give this one a shot. There is an entire port for GTA 3 designed specifically for the 3DS, and it's just incredible seeing this run on here. It's not perfect, it struggles to stay at 30 FPS, and I'll be honest, it kind of hurts to look at, but it is super cool just seeing this running at all. It's the entire game from start to finish, has save modes and everything, and it's really cool. Some honorable mentions definitely go into Cookie Clicker, Five Nights at Freddy's, and Flappy Bird. I mean, who doesn't love Flappy Bird, right? If any of these games interest you, I'll have linked to site in the description where you can check out all the most popular homebrew ports. Have fun! Okay, I'm sure you have some questions. I'll try and give you some answers. Okay, Jeff, I'm sold. If I wanted to get into 3DS modding right now, which one should I be buying? Okay, just remember this is my personal opinion, but my personal #1 pick would be a new 3DS XL. It has the bigger screen, the updated processor, it's built really, really well, and it still has the improved eye tracking, 3D, and amiibo support. I'm just personally a big fan of having the one console that has all the features, whether or not I'm going to use them, and I'm sure some of you are the same way. Second pick would definitely be the new 2DS XL. It has all the same hardware and specs, it just has no 3D mode, as I'm sure some people don't care about that anymore. And it's built a little bit cheaper since it was the last hardware update for the 3DS. Consider this the PS3 Super Slim of the 3DS systems. The original 3DS, 3DS XL, and 2DS are still really good systems, don't get me wrong, and they'll still play all of the original 3DS games. It just won't have access to the homebrew stuff that might require the extra horsepower or the new 3DS exclusive games. If you can get a really good deal on one or already own one of these, I'd say it's still 100% worth it. But if you're buying a system to start right now, I'd say there are better options. Can you still play online? Yeah, that's not a problem. Can I get banned for modding my 3DS? Okay, listen. It's very obvious at this point that bans on the 3DS is one of the last things that Nintendo cares about right now. Plus, with the way things are going right now, I don't think online will be lasting for much longer either. Me personally, I still play online from time to time on my modded 3DS and I've never had an issue, and that does include ROMs that I've downloaded from the internet. Now listen, while I'm not outright saying no, you will not get banned, keep this in mind. The last time there was a ban wave for 3DSs was almost 6 years ago. I don't think you're in any danger anymore, honestly. Can I still update my games safely? Yeah, even though the eShop is shut down already, you can still update your games exactly the same way you used to. Though with some games, the update will fail. If that happens, the little green icon will let you download your updates, no problem. Is it still really easy to break or mess up your 3DS if you try to mod it? No. The 3DS modding scene has gotten really mature over the years, and a lot of stuff has gotten really dummy-proof, thankfully. And most of the stuff you want to do anyways doesn't involve getting deep into the 3DS anymore. You're fine. Is it safe to update my 3DS? If you modded it in the last year or 2 years, yeah. The newer mods persist over updates, so nothing gets messed up anymore. My 3DS is already modded, but that was 7 years ago. Should I keep it the way it is? Do I update it? How do I even do that? So if you're running an older setup, most of the time it just involves updating your 3DS to a bit more stable boot 9 strap setup. The benefit of this is that it usually makes booting your custom firmware much faster and runs way smoother. Don't worry, there's guides on how to get everything up and running. It just involves dragging and dropping a few extra files. I'll leave a link in the description to see what you need to do. Wait, tell me more about that green app. What's all that about? You know what? I'll just let my comments answer any questions regarding that. I'm already on thin ice with Nintendo. I don't want to get into any more trouble myself. Listen, I put a lot of time into these videos, and I hope you at least leave here learning something from this. If you did, tag me on Twitter or Instagram and send me some pictures of your 3DS setup. I love seeing everyone's personal modded systems. There's still one last thing left to do, and that's to jailbreak that subscribe button so you can help us break 200,000 subscribers. Come on, I know you're good at this. If you like this, you're going to love this other video that I did. Click here to check it out, and thanks for watching.